In this video, I'm going to be reviewing examples 5 and 6 and their solutions and truth tables for these. Now, you were only asked in these questions to produce the final truth table. Now, just because that's what you're ultimately asked to do, doesn't mean that you yourself should not be coming up with other parts of the truth table. I mean, the previous examples you had kind of the map or the route one would take to get to the final truth table, whereas this one here is kind of leaving it up to you to decide what the final one was. So, so hopefully you looked at the symbols and attacked these things in the correct order. But if not, you had this video to kind of rely on to have a look at this. So the first thing I'm going to do is realize, okay, well, there's too many different things going on here between P, Q, and R. I mean, I have my original truth statements for these and the combinations. But for P, Q, and R, there's too many other things going on between negations, intersections, unions, that, that I don't, feel comfortable trying to just decide what else is going on just by looking at these originals and say, okay, well, if this and this are true, then that's true, and this would be false. And you can kind of keep that in your head, but you can easily get yourself confused. So I'm going to extend my table a little bit and put some intermediate steps in here. So, and the first thing is, because it's one side of this union symbol and it's in parentheses, I do want to figure out what P and Q are. So the intersection of P and Q, which we've looked at a number of times and even a couple of the examples already. So again, for P and Q to be true, both of them have to be true at the same time. If one or both of them are false, it's false. And that's why the truth table, when I look at these two columns, I get true, true, and the rest are false. The next thing I want to look at is not R. So I'm looking at this column, so I can come up with this column here for not R. And again, all I'm going to do is, just do the opposite truth value for each one of these. So this was true, so it's going to be false over here. This one's false, so it's true. And the rest kind of go along the lines. So now I have the two parts that are on the left and right hand side of this union symbol. And the union symbol comes last because, negation has precedence over these two. This has precedence over everything because it's inside parentheses. When we eventually get to showing other connectives, they'll have their place in the order of operations for these as well. But, so now looking at these two columns, and it's an OR statement, that's really the thing I'm looking at. So for this to be true, all I have to do is have just one of the two parts be true. One of these two column values have to be true. If both of them are false, that's the only time it's going to be false. So true and false is true. True and true is true. False and false, of course, is false. The right-hand column's true. They're both false here. Right-hand column's true. They're both false here. And the right-hand column's true. So we have that. And that would be the truth table for this one. And ultimately, all you were asked to do, and that's to produce, was just this right-hand column over here. So now for the second one, example 6, it got a little bit more complicated. I mean, yes, again, you were asked just to produce the truth table for this to come up with the truth values based off of these original truth values for P, Q, and R. But there's a lot of things going on in here. I have negations all over the place. I have several negations. I have two negations. I have two intersections, a union, and I have to basically make sure I'm doing these in the right order. I mean, so basically, this AND statement has to be done first, and this AND statement has to be done first. Before this AND statement can be done, it has to be negated. Before this OR statement has to get done, this has to be negated. So there's a lot of things going on with this particular one that, so there's a good number of intermediate steps that you should take before you get to your final statement. So I'm going to expand my table a bit here. And the first thing I'm going to show is P and R. So I'm looking at these two columns here. And it works the same way when we did P and Q. I mean, as long as both are true, both columns have a true truth value, it's true. It's false otherwise. So it's true here, false here, true here, false here, and false the rest of the way. The next one I look at is not R, because not R is part over here. So I'm trying to take care of the most innermost pieces first and work my way out. And I'm also trying to do it in a method so that I can eventually have the two sides of this union, this left-hand side here and this right-hand side here, be next to each other so I could do a really easy comparison when I'm done. So not R, I'm just going to do the opposite of what all of these said. So if it says true, I'm going to have false. If it says false, I'm going to have true. And that's continuing that pattern. This is what I get. The next column I do is Q and not R. And that's what this side is. So Q and not R, I'm looking at this column over here. I'm looking at this column I just came up with previously. So again, an AND statement, as long as again, both of them are true, it's true. It's false otherwise. So this would be false. This would be true. This would be false. 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 This would be true. False and false. So I have this right-hand side. It doesn't take much to come up with the left-hand side now because I have this column over here, and now I just want to negate it. So all I have to do, just like I just got done doing with not R a couple steps ago, I'm going to take everything that I see in here, and I'm just going to do the opposite truth value. So this is true, this is false, that's true, and the rest comes down to these. Just doing the opposite truth value. Now around I have both parts of the union. I have the left-hand side here, the right-hand side. Unions, there is commutativity, so it doesn't matter which order I have them in. If I have this on the left and this on the right, same thing as this statement up here. So all I do now is look at these two columns, and as long as only one of them is true, the whole thing's true. The only time it's going to be false is if both of them are false at the same time. Like the first statement is false. This is true. This is false. And if you see here, I mean, just by this column alone, I'm going to have at least one true value. So the rest are going to be true down the line. And that would be the truth table for this statement here. So if you have any additional questions, please make sure to reach out to me. Until next time, have a good day.